like to begin by welcoming the Wadsworth High School class of 2006, families and friends. We are here this evening to say farewell and wish the best to the senior class of 2006. B.F. Skinner once said that education is what survives when what has been learned has been forgotten. We all have acquired a plethora of knowledge here at Wadsworth High School, whether it be in AP Calculus or physical education. But we haven't only learned what we know from our parents and teachers. We have learned a great deal from our peers, our personal experiences, which have also made us who we are today. We all have grown as a family these past 4 years. We've had our ups and downs, but through it all we have managed to stick together and make it to this moment. It is now time to move on, to make new friends, to become independent, to hire our education, and most importantly, to make an impact on our world. William Shakespeare once wrote, "We know what we are, but know not what we may be." My hope is that after graduation, we will all do our best, work hard, and succeed in everything that we do. As we strive to accomplish goals with God's help, we will experience the true meaning of happiness and help to make our world a better place.
Graduation day. A chapter in our lives is through. It's time to close the door. Today we clear our minds anew, our future is still unsure. To look around and see our peers dressed up in white and red is something we've dreamed up for years inside our muffled heads. We can't erase our past mistakes or forget what got us here. We understand the time it takes to grow and look past our fears. It's time that we release the hands of the ones who've been our guides, to unroll the map of future plans and look to ourselves to confide. We'll leave this year with many laughs, memories that will fade but stay. We'll start to ride the bumpy path to the future that will take us away. There is a time for everything, a reason for when and why. For every struggle our lives can bring, they only challenge us to fly. So as we bid farewell to friends that have been here all the while, we know in our hearts this is not the end, and we look straight ahead with a smile.
This day is fragile, soon it will end, and once it has vanished, it will not come again. So let us love with a love pure and strong before this day is gone. This day is fleeting when it slips away. Not all our money can buy back this day. So let us pray that we might be a friend before this day is spent. This day we're given is golden. Let us show love. This day is ours for one moment. Let us show love. This day is frail, it will pass by. So before it's too late to recapture the time, let us share love. Let us share God before this day is gone. Before
Well, it is my honor to address you, the class of 2006. It's both a privilege and I consider it to be a great responsibility. And I thank you for being here tonight. And I join together with others. Thank you. I join together with others in expressing our congratulations to you in this high achievement in your life. A baccalaureate is described as a sermon given to a group of graduating people. And by tradition, it normally lasts 2 hours. Now, I'm a traditional type of person, but actually, we'll cut it short. We want to share with you some wisdom tonight that might help you in life. There was a man who gave some fatherly advice to his son one day, saying, "Son, if you want to live a long life, here's the key. You've got to eat a little gunpowder every day. And if you do it, you'll live a long life." So he took his father up on it, and every morning he made it his practice to add a little bit of gunpowder to his cornflakes. And it must have worked because he lived to be 93 years of age. And when he died, he had 8 children, 16 grandchildren, and 24 great-grandchildren. And he left them all behind, including a 15-foot hole in the side of the crematorium. Well, that's the kind of advice we're not going to give you tonight, but we're here in grizzly country. And perhaps you heard the report that came out from the Alaska Department of Natural Resources. It said, due to the high population of bear, hikers are suggested to take precautions so that you are careful. A couple suggestions were given. One is to wear bells on your shoes so that you don't startle a sleeping bear. And the second is to always carry pepper spray with you. And they also advise to be careful to know the difference between grizzly bear and black bear. Well, someone asked, what's the difference? How do you know? And they said, well, you look at their droppings. If they're small and long and slender with berries in it, you're in black bear country. But if they're large and dark and they have bells and they smell like pepper, you're in grizzly country. And we're in grizzly country tonight. We live in an ever-changing world. When I grew up, we carried transistor radios. Then we moved to Walkmans, and now you carry iPods. We live in this constant world of change and transition. Our world is changing. Our Earth evolves around our star, and the Earth rotates on its axis. And all around us there's change, and let me warn you that your bodies will change as well. And if you don't believe me, just wait 10 years from now until you come back for your 10-year class reunion, and you'll see. And better yet, wait till the 50th year. I think there's some real wisdom for us in the very first words that God is recorded to have spoken in the Bible, as well as the last words of Jesus as recorded in the Gospels. In the book of Genesis, chapter 1 and verse 3, the first words of God were the words, "Let there be light." And the last recorded words of Jesus in the Gospel is the word, "Go." And these speak to where you're at this point in your life. For these 17, 18, 19 years of your life, you have been enlightened. Your parents have sought to train you and teach you and instruct you, to give you life lessons, to get through life, to begin this journey that you'll be moving on toward. They've surrounded you with others, like teachers who have taught you knowledge. They've surrounded you with other things, and there have been coaches who have stretched you in body and physically. And there have been pastors who've sought to bring the burning love of God into your soul. But we also know that through all this enlightenment, there comes that time where you must go. You must move on. And you know that that time is before you. Now, I know my audience tonight. It's been summed up quite well in a little rhyme that goes like this. You can always tell a freshman by all their goofy looks. You can always tell a sophomore because they carry so many books. You can always tell a junior because they're cool and such. And you can always tell a senior, but you cannot tell them much. Well, you're about to enter some of the most exciting times of your life. Change is on the horizon, and quite frankly, the horizon is here. You're moving on to the next challenge in your life, and the changes are huge. It's like reading a fast-moving novel, and you've come to the close of yet another chapter, and you can't hardly wait to move on to the next. And no matter what lies ahead, whether it's college or vocational school or military or jobs or whatever, one thing you'll discover, that much of what you do will involve moves. And each of those moves will bring you new challenges and opportunities. There's one statistic that shares that on the average, on an average year, about 16% of all Americans will move. But what's interesting is in those decades of your 20s and 30s, it doubles to 1/3 of the population. So get ready for the ride. Put on your seatbelts, because over the next 22 years or whatever, you're likely to move on an average of about every 3 years. Whether you stay in Wadsworth or go out and see the world, there will be change. And transitions and moves and careers and marriage and children potentially await you. And quite likely you're experiencing a whole array of emotions right now. Emotions like excitement, yet a tinge of anxiety. Determination, yet uneasiness. A calm resolve, yet you have butterflies. A sense of freedom. You're ready to fly away, yet at the same time, maybe in honesty, a tinge of homesickness when you think of it. But you're moving on, and you're part of America that's on the move. Here's what the moving companies say by their slogans. Budget Truck says, Budget Truck is your partner in stress-free moving. ABF U-Pack says, you pack, we drive, and you save. American Moving and Storage says, dedicated to making your move successful every step of the way. North American Van Line says, moving you in a new direction. And Delta Van Line says, we move you with care. In the wisdom writing of the Bible, in the Old Testament book of Proverbs, there's a marvelous collection of words of wisdom, little motifs to live by, those kinds of things that if you put them in practice can make a huge difference in your life. And recognizing that you're moving on to the next step and stage of life, I want to share with you this evening some of those little gems that can help you. And they're found in the 3rd chapter of this book of Proverbs. But before I do, there's one last item of importance that we need to talk about. And that's an item that you need when you're moving on. It becomes a great friend. And I'm not talking about MapQuest that'll show you how to get to where you're going. And I'm not talking about a change of address through the Postal Service that tells people how to find where you've gone. But rather, I'm talking about a simple cardboard box. You'll find that as you prepare to move on, there are certain things that you have to decide what to take and what to leave behind and what to pack and take with you on the move. And I want to offer to you 3 things tonight from Proverbs that will help you to make a better move. First of all, we read, trust in the Lord with all your heart and do not rely on your own insight. Let's think of it like we're leaning on God, because instead of leaning on our own understanding, we are called to trust in God. This is in contrast to leaning on yourself, leaning on your own power or trust in your insights or your wealth. Instead, trust in yourself to God along the way. Through your years of life, you've built a foundation of faith. Wherever that level of faith might be, as you have put your faith to God, in God, I would encourage you that the key is to continue to build that faith and to grow and become solid. In this ever-changing world you're entering, rely on the steadfastness of God's presence in your life. Take God with you. You can leave American Express behind, but make sure you take God with you. And more importantly, let God lead the way. There are many unknowns before you. Uncertainty marks the path. And in the shifting sands of time, know that there's that one solid thing that you can take with you, and that thing is your faith in God. For the past 4 years, you've had access to the guidance counselor's office, and they have been there to help you with decisions in high school and preparation for post-high school. They've been there to talk with you and to help you and to deal with you as you have struggled with difficult times. But when you leave Wadsworth High School, the guidance office stays behind. But God can go with you and make sure that you place your life in God's hands. You know, basketball in most of our hands is only worth about 20 bucks. But you put it in the hands of someone like LeBron James and it's worth millions of dollars. A football might cost $22 in your hands. That's all it might be worth. But put it in the hands of Ben Roethlisberger and it's good for a Super Bowl ring. Scott, you owe me for that one. You put a guitar in most of our hands and it's a useless instrument, but you put it in the hands of someone like Eric Clapton and it makes wonderful music. As you see, it depends on where you put your hands, who you trust your life to, and put your hands in the hand of God and lean on God as you move ahead. So lean on God first, but then secondly, we read, in all your ways acknowledge him. Now the word ways really implies our conduct of living, how you conduct your life. In the arena of human culture, how will you live your life? Now through the years, you have learned some life lessons to help you to live a life in this world. And some of that has been taught in your home by your parents and it has been modeled for you. When you pack family portraits as you move on, remember those things that you have been taught. Remember the things you've learned, like do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And things you've taught and you've been shown in school, like keep your hands to yourself, don't budge in line, respect other people, and don't cheat. And tack to your soul as a conscience, and don't leave that conscience behind. You see, by your actions, you will lift the world, and you will make the world a better place. Or you can lower the world, and you can further put the world into darkness. You can be a light, a ray of hope, or you can lower the world with another black eye and further dull our sensitivity to improving our world. We need to lift our world. I have a friend who, after high school, went to college and got a degree in engineering. He worked hard and was very successful, eventually owning his own manufacturing firm. He shared with me once that his whole life was consumed with the idea that anybody that came into his life, it was all about what can they give me. If they were of no use to him, he had no use of them. If they couldn't give him something, if they couldn't bring something to his life, he wanted nothing to do with them. And that's how he lived his life. But then he began to lean on God. And as he leaned on God, he began to have a different approach to people. And instead of looking at people as to what they can give me, he started to look at people as those that I can give to. And with that came a whole shift in his life, and he began to be one who is now lifting the world, and today is making a difference because of the way he lives. Lean on God and lift the world. But finally, turn away from evil. Now there's a message in this little word of wisdom that can literally change your life. It's that message, that call to live well. When you pack your boxes, don't leave behind the instruction manual for living a life of honor. And how you live and act will determine the direction of your life. The manual for living will keep you on track. Oftentimes it's said of your age group, they have no sense of the fact that something can happen. They're almost invincible in their mindset. They don't think anything will ever happen to them. I'll give you the benefit of the doubt that you don't believe that. But at the same time, if there's just one of you that believes that, you need to hear what I'm going to say. Because you are one bad decision away from ruining the rest of your life. You're one bad decision away from ending up in the ditch of disaster. You're one decision away from being derailed from that track that you're seeking to move on. Live well. Look at the landscape of life's journeys. He was an exceptional athlete, all kinds of skills and ability. He excelled in high school, caught national media attention, was drafted, and ended up going to the Ohio State University. And as a freshman, he took his team to the national championship title. And now Maurice Clarett, by his decisions, has robbed his future. Bright students at a prestigious private university, members of a lacrosse team. And though the court of law has not been determined, the court of public opinion is well formed. And whatever happens, there's a cloud hanging over these who have made some decisions and judgment calls that they'll carry with them for the rest of their lives. Binge drinking at college is a huge problem. It's a bad, bad decision. As you've gone through this, your senior year in high school, there have been a lot of important, significant, and exciting things that happened, but one of the most exciting things that you witnessed was the 2006 NFL Draft. I read an article before the draft that I found rather interesting. It was about Marcus Vick, the younger brother of Michael Vick. And they were doing some comparisons. They said both played football in high school, both were quarterbacks, both were heavily recruited, both had great skill, both went to a high-profile college football school like Virginia Tech. They both excelled in college. As they came to the end of their careers, they both were 6 feet tall and weighed 215 pounds. Michael Vick is a little faster, but Marcus Vick has a stronger arm. And in 2001, Michael Vick became the #1 draft choice. Here's where the comparison ends. The article went on to say that because of the character issues, not the talent, but the character issues of Marcus, he was likely not going to be a first-round pick. Many of the NFL teams had taken his name off the board. It's because of a series of brushes with the law and poor decisions, from alleged possession of marijuana to charges of sex with a minor, the alleged brandishing of a gun, a memorable and intentional stomping of the leg of a Louisville Cardinal defensive player, and the dismissal from Virginia Tech. The difference between Michael and Marcus is character. And as one scout said, we're always looking for good people as well as good players. And yes, strength and skill and speed and passion are important, but increasingly so, good character is important. And now this event is over and the draft has been determined, and Marcus didn't go in the first round. And he didn't go in the second or the third or the fourth. He didn't get drafted at all. Live well. Turn away from evil. Well, here's the word: lean on God, lift the world, and live well. These words of wisdom give us hope, because embedded in these passages is the word that He will make straight your path. If you lean on God and lift the world and live well, you'll find that your life will be better and smoother. And as you move on, your life will be better. There is a huge unknown. Tomorrow is very vague and uncertain, but if you live by these words of wisdom, life will be better. I figured it out in my head the other day. Since high school, I've moved 17 different times, from home to college and back to home, and then to college and back and forth, and then off to a job, and then marriage and to graduate school and the like. I've moved 17 times, and guess what? I'm moving again. By the end of this month, I will be known as a past resident of Wadsworth. And guess what my house is filled with? Boxes. And lots of decisions about what to take and carry with us as we go. But I've learned something about every time I've moved on, that I am a different person when I leave than when I came. Through that change, that transition in life, I have grown, I've matured, I have grown, I hope, in character. I've learned lessons to help me in life. Perhaps you've heard of the law of entropy. It's known as the second law of thermodynamics. It's that theory, that idea that says that as the world grows, it grows in disorder. That's entropy. The more the world grows, the more disorder there is. And sometimes as our lives move on, we feel like they're getting out of control and out of order. But there's something about the law of entropy that's important for us to hear. Entropy requires energy. To prevent entropy requires energy. Energy reverses entropy. In simple terms, the universe is getting more and more out of disorder, or out of order into disorder, unless we interject energy. And when we do, that disorder is changed into order. That's where God enters the picture. If God is energy in your life, if God brings energy to who you are and to what you do, you'll find there'll be order and a disorder, and your life will be different. Well, you have the proud distinction of graduating as a Wadsworth High School student, and that makes you a grizzly. Timothy Treadwell was an adventurer who lived among the Alaskan grizzly bear for 13 years. He lived among them to help learn about the life of the grizzly bear and to protect them from poachers. In 2003, after filming literally hundreds and hundreds of hours of film of grizzly bears in these 13 years in the wilderness, tragically, he was attacked by a grizzly bear and was killed. But he had formed an organization called Grizzly People. And if you go to their website, you'll find that they identify themselves as a grassroots organization dedicated to the understanding and the preserving of bears in their wilderness. It says their goal is to elevate the grizzly bear to kindred state with the whale and the dolphin through supportive education in the hopes that humans will learn to live in peace with the bear, wilderness, and with fellow humans. Now, whatever your personal views of this organization might be, when you move on in life with a cause and a purpose for living, then you are a true grizzly person. So move on, leaning on God and lifting the world around you and living well. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you very much, Reverend Landerholm. I now invite you to take part in this year's dedication ceremony. Following those on the stage and waiting until the row in front of you has left, please come forward to the stage. The roses here on the stage are a symbol of the encouragement and positive influence that you have received throughout your high school career. Take one rose and present it to the person who has most influenced your life and helped you to arrive at this momentous occasion. Please return to your seat when you have finished. Thank you.
Gracious God, we give you thanks this evening for these we have come to honor. And thank you for their lives. They are precious and special. Thank you for family and parents. Thank you for school and teachers, advisors, administrators. Thank you for community, and thank you for houses of worship, all who have helped to enlighten and prepare. And now as these go forth, may you watch over them and bless them as they lean on you, as they lift the world, and as they live well. Through Christ we pray. Amen.